And to speak more on this development, African Affairs analyst Achike Chude joins me on the news. Thank you very much for joining me. Now, was this move a necessary evil, given the alleged flawed election and President Bongo's decision to continue to remain in power?
Yeah. Obviously, this is another sad day. But obviously, we have seen that what is going on in one part of the continent is spreading to other parts of the continent. And what is even sad about it is that it is being heralded by the people. We must not forget that, element when we're talking about the coups that are taking place. They are being welcomed by the people of these countries. And so what it tells you is that the civilians have a very serious disdain and do not have any respect for their civilian rulers who they see as overlords. And so when we are talking about the contagion as put forward by the spokesman for the president in Gelale, when he talks about the contagion of autocracies, in khaki uniform, we should also talk about the contagion of misgovernance across the African continent by people in civilian clothing masquerading as political leaders. Of course, nobody supports military coup, and like I have always maintained, it's an aberration to democracy. But nobody also, no reasonable person also would tolerate the misgovernance that has gone on in the African continent for so long. And so I think it is sad that this is happening, but it is not without its cause. Of course, it is not the way to go because there is no guarantee that even the military adventurers would perform any better than the people that they have removed. But it is also clear that what we have seen after decades of civilian governance in the continent has been misery, poverty, insecurity, incompetence, parochialism, and division of the people among, parochial lines, ethnicity, religions, and geopolitical. This is what has been the fruit of a democratic governance all over the continent. No wonder there's so much poverty, and no wonder there's so much insecurity in the continent with thousands of youths fleeing their countries because of the misgovernance and the suffering in their continent. It is sad. It's another sad day, really.
All right, so now, at this point, what can the African Union, that's the AU, do to end coups in Africa? Should there be an AU standby force like what ECOWAS is planning, to put in place to counter coups in other countries?
I think it's too late for that. You must have engagements, and you must, from now onwards, must begin to ensure responsible behavior by our political leaders. For instance, in Nigeria, there's also something that we could do. I will not tell you right now that if you have this kind of situation, God forbid, in Nigeria, military situation, I will not tell you that Nigerians will not hit the street in celebration. There's always that possibility because Nigerians are not in love with their political leaders, and that is the truth. So one of the things that we need to begin to do is for the civilian, or political leaders to sit up. For instance, with regards to the cost of governance, we want. It is absolutely an abomination to have senators, for instance, of the Federal Republic earning as much as the 19 to 27 million naira on a monthly basis. So we want it to reduce to as low as 52 million naira for every senator, and then perhaps about 1.5 billion naira a month for members of the House of Representatives. The same thing we should see across the states, because that is the only thing that can encourage the people to begin to have a feeling that the political leadership, leaders are listening, and so this are the kind of things I expect. So for ECOWAS, the African Union to intervene militarily, I think the horse has left the barn. It is too late for that because it has spread. And so this case is no longer isolated. If it was limited to just one or two countries, then you could say, fine, perhaps it could have, military intervention. But it has spread across the continent. And so there must be a completely new approach. Let the political leaders in these countries now immediately, as a matter of priority, begin to show the people that they are ready for governance, begin to cut down drastically on the, cost of governance, especially with regards to their personal benefits and then, their remuneration and salaries and allowances immediately. That is the only thing that will begin to send the right kind of message to the people and to the military in those countries.
All right, we'll keep monitoring events as they unfold. African Affairs Analyst Achike Chude, thank you very much for your insights.